Tonight's National Hockey League action is brought to you in part by McDonald's. McDonald's family restaurants where we do it all for you. By the Grand Oles gang who invite you to come in and test drive the all-new 88s and 98s. And by Iron City Beer. If you're the expert, we're the beer. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our first telecast ever from west of the Mississippi. I'm Sam Nober, delighted to have you with us. I know it's 11 o'clock p.m. back in Pittsburgh, but we are looking forward to a very exciting hockey game tonight, particularly exciting for us inasmuch as we have never been able to bring you a hockey game, as I indicated, from west of the Mississippi out here on the West Coast in the Pacific Northwest. Jack Riley, my regular partner, is not with us tonight because of a prior commitment to his job as president of the Southern Hockey League. But in his place, we have a gentleman who knows the Vancouver Canucks as well as anybody else. His name is Greg Douglas. He is not only their public relations director, but also assistant general manager to Phil Maloney. Well, there you see the Vancouver Canucks skating around their goaltender, who tonight will be Kurt Ridley. Ridley has a goals against average of 3.97. At the other end of the ice for the Pittsburgh Penguins, Dunk Wilson, the ex-Vancouver Canuck, will tend goal for the Pens tonight. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the Canadian National Anthem.
Strong and free, and stand on guard, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee, O Canada, glorious and free. We stand on guard, we stand on guard for thee, O
And Swede Knox will be one of the linesmen in the hockey game tonight. And I can hear Dave Newell, the referee. And the other linesman, I can't even read it.
That's Ray Scampanello.
Scampanello, exactly. At center ice, referee Dave Newell set to drop the puck between Chris Odlifson, the captain of the Canucks, number 14, and Greg Malone, the young rookie of the Pens, who just seems to get better with every passing day. And we're underway. Nice to have you with us back in Pittsburgh and western Pennsylvania from the Pacific Coliseum here in Vancouver. Malone tried to dump it into the Canucks end. Ochar off the boards and takes a slam from Odlifson. The puck in behind the Vancouver goal. Kelly rams Robitaille right to the side of the net. It's loose! And I think Ridley finally sprawled on it. Stan Gilbertson took a poke at the puck right in the goal crease. And the Canucks almost found themselves down a goal in the first 15 seconds of play.
Sam, this is the first game that Kurt Ridley has started in 3, and he's been off to a little bit of a shaky start. Vancouver traded a first-round pick for him last year, and they got high hopes for him.
I think the feeling the Penguins had, at least coming over in the bus, Greg, was if they could get the first goal. The Canucks don't seem to have great recuperative powers. They'd like to get the first one here. Kelly off the leg of Malone back into the just outside the Penguin blue line. Kenny Schenkel shaking up his lines a little bit tonight. Gilbertson playing with Malone and Kelly. They jam it up along the boards. It finally comes free. Dennis Kearns 6 to Robitaille, number 2 at the Penguin blue line, and dumped back out to center by Denny Ochar, and over the board offside pass it was, and the play whistled down. And now a complete line change as the Pens bring out Pierre LaRouche. Here you see Kurt Ridley in goal for the Canucks. Kehoe will be on the right of LaRouche and Mike Corrigan on the left. Don Lever, the center, between number 17, Settlebauer, and Blight, number 8. And Penguin fans will well remember the young rookie Rick Blight, who scored 4 goals in Pittsburgh one night not so long ago. In fact, when we opened the season. Penguins dump the puck back out to center ice. Harold Snepps, number 27, the lone Vancouver All-Star, who will play in the All-Star game next Tuesday night right here in this very Coliseum. And as you know, back in Pittsburgh, John Pronovo was added to the All-star team by Scotty Bowman. Good move by Daly. Try to get around Stackhouse. Settlebauer put it out in front. Nobody there but Corrigan. And now Corrigan coming back. He's got LaRouche with him. In over the blue line. Pierre tried to give it back to Corrigan. Broken up by Sneps. Sent around the near side boards. Daly collides with Kehoe. To Corrigan. Out to Kehoe, and his shot was wide. LaRouche has it. Back out to the point. And tipped by Lever around Stackhouse. At the blue line, Sneps moving down on Corrigan. Here's big Harold Sneps, 6'3" of him, and a backhander right on Wilson. Knocked it to the side. A good rush by Sneps. At the side boards, Faubert tried to get it out, kept in a long drive by Robitaille. At the far side boards, it's Donnie Lever out in front, and finally cleared there by Faubert back into the Vancouver end. Scoreless hockey game. We've played nearly 3 minutes of the first period. Now Settlebauer knocked down by Ochar, and Ridley holds it in behind his own goal for Robitaille. Robitaille, the ex-Buffalo Sabre and Detroit Red Wing. Settlebauer couldn't get it out, right out in front, and Ridley taking off his stick of Ronnie shot. Penn's dangerous again. Here's Apps, near side. Out in front, Pronovo. The shot, he tried to give it back to Pronovo, and he had Ridley at his mercy. One pass too many, and I don't know really if Schock's intention was to pass the puck. Now here come the Canucks back the other way. Settlebauer overskating the puck in the Penguin zone, and Ori clears it to an open wing. Robitaille in his own end as the Canucks change. Monahan with Bobby Lalonde. Tried to get it to Hilliard Graves, and he couldn't get his stick on it. Lalonde follows it down. In behind the goal, Bobby Lalonde put it out off the skate of Ochar. And the Pens break back 3-on-2. Apps with Corrigan. Schock it is. He's in. Oh, and Ridley took the puck right off his stick. Brilliant play by goaltender Kurt Ridley. And it's Graves who clears it out the center. Now Pronovo again. The Pens with 3 golden opportunities in the first 3.5 minutes of the game. They have nothing to show for. And we haven't had a stoppage in the last 2.5 minutes. Now Carrier, the defenseman, off a skate of Greg Malone. Finally, Daly skates at the center and gives it away to Blair Chapman. Trying to come back with Malone. In over the blue line. Malone, and he's depth to the ice, and Ridley clears a loose puck. Here's Stackhouse. And he tried to give it to Bianchi. He couldn't hold it. Anderson out in front. And the Canucks break it up and come back with it. Here's Monahan all by himself. And Anderson knocks him from behind. Now Blair Chapman by himself at center ice, shoots it into the Vancouver end. Pens have really come out flying, but they have nothing to show for their effort. In the corner, O'Flaherty is knocked down by Wayne Bianchin, and they finally hold it for a face-off. There's a break in the action. The game scoreless here in the first period from Vancouver. Face-off is to the right of goaltender Kurt Ridley, and the Vancouver end, LaRouche wins the draw. Right out in front, and Stackhouse just tipped it wide. Penguins keep it in. They have owned the first 5 minutes of this hockey game. LaRouche taking the puck away. Keogh's drive, a sliding save out in front. Well, Sneps may have missed it, but he got through to Ridley. And the Penguins have certainly dominated here. Greg Douglas so far.
You know, Sam, those 3 opportunities you mentioned earlier in the period, all were a result of Ron Schock. He came close on 2 different occasions himself and just failed to set one up.
Ronnie playing in his 290th consecutive game as a Pittsburgh Penguin, as you had a brief glimpse of Kenny Schinkel behind the Penguin bench and trainer John Doolin. LaRouche in the corner. Scoreless hockey game. Drive, Corrigan, and Ridley with a save, and Keogh couldn't handle the rebound. I find it hard to believe. Incredible dominance by the Pens, who still have not yet dented the scoreboard. An offside play as LaRouche was trapped in the Vancouver end. And there's Orland Kurtenbach behind the Vancouver bench. 15:05 to go in the scoreless first period.
Sam, Mike Corrigan is a well-known commodity in these parts. He played with Vancouver several years ago, and that was a typical Mike Corrigan blast from right in the slot, and a good save by Ridley.
You joined us late. Greg Douglas, assistant general manager of the Canucks, doing the color commentary in our broadcast tonight. Ori on the far side boards. Morrison couldn't get it out. Here's a shot by Carrier, high and wide. And it comes all the way around to Gilbertson, his pass intended for Ronnie Schock. Odlifson gives it right back to Gilbertson. And it's stolen away by Ververgaard. To an open wing. Carrier will keep it in. Shoots it by Lou Morrison. Now Ochar takes a bump in the far corner. Odlifson hits him again, and Schock comes away with it. Schock over the stick of Gilbertson, center ice, goes into the Vancouver zone, and Dennis Kearns right out in front of his own goal. Now to Carrier to Odlifson. Knocked off balance and stride a little bit to Ververgaard. His drive blocked out in front by Ori, who sweeps it to the corner. Ochar is knocked off balance. Puck loose in the corner. Number 22 is Andy Spruce getting into the middle of it. Ververgaard. Oh, and it hit a arm, I think, of Ori, and Bob bounced up in the air, and Wilson caught it. And he wisely held on for a face-off in the Pittsburgh zone as both lines change.
You can see the play developing here now, and the initial shot was blocked, but Ververgaard managed to hang in the slot. You notice Dunk Wilson standing up there, Sam, ever ready, and he was cool on that stab with the glove.
I don't know how well he played for you out here, Greg, but he has been positively sensational since coming to the Pens from the Rangers. What a great acquisition he's been.
Everybody in the league is talking about it, and I'm happy for Dunk because as the people in Vancouver, the media, the other players, they loved the guy when he was here.
Well, he loved it out here, too. I guess he still owns a home out here. I told him to expect a visit from me in the summer. This is just beautiful country out here. My first trip, and I absolutely have fallen in love with the place. Here are the Penguins. Faubert shot is blocked at the blue line by Sneps and offside. Kelly and Apps, both at the Vancouver blue line. Kenny Schenkel continuing to juggle his lines. Now has Kelly on the left wing with Apps at center, Pronovo on the right side. There's a final score you see. The New York Rangers and Cleveland Barons have played to a 3-3 tie. We'll have a abbreviated newscast for you from our instant news team during the first intermission. Pulled down Faubert behind his goal, and let's see, a hooking call by referee Dave Newell. And he may have Rick Blight, I believe. There's a break in the action. The game's scoreless here in Vancouver. Okay, Greg, let's take a look at this.
Yeah, you'll see the call by Dave Newell. Faubert was taking the puck around behind the Pittsburgh goal. There's Blight trailing him. Blight is out of position right now. He's a right winger. There's the hook right on the left arm, and down goes Faubert.
So we're back live. The Penguin power play, the first man advantage of the night. Game scoreless in Vancouver. Pens have owned the first 6 minutes of this game, but as I've said, have nothing to show for it. Offside play as it just came back over the blue line again. Kelly on with Apps and Pronovo. And at the point, Stackhouse and Faubert. The announcers for this hockey telecast are employed by WIIC-TV. The Pittsburgh Penguins Hockey Club has a right of approval for the announcers of this hockey game. Ridley holding the puck in behind his own goal. Kelly converging on Sneps. They knock him to the ice. Pronovo. Settlebauer couldn't get it out. Loose puck out in front. Stackhouse knocked Lever down, and let's see, there's a whistle. And let's see what it's all about. They're going to have a face-off outside the blue line.
I think the spectators were wanting a call on Stackhouse for tripping up Lever, but it was actually an innocent play and no damage done. And again, Newell was right on top of it.
Sweet knocks to drop the puck between Lever and LaRouche, who is now on with Corrigan and Kehoe. Stackhouse and Faubert still at the point positions. Loose out in front. Here's Faubert right in. He's got a chance. LaRouche scores! LaRouche with a great pass from Faubert. And the Penguins get a power play goal and lead it 1-0.
A great play by Faubert. The key play here, Sam, as you'll see, is he fakes the shot as the Vancouver defenseman Harold Schneps falls for the fake. There's the fake right there, over, and it's in the net before Kurt Ridley can even get anywhere close to it. A big goal by Pierre LaRouche, and as you mentioned, Pittsburgh had been dominating this play. That is a power play goal.
Get the official scoring play here. LaRouche is 17th of the year. Faubert, of course, draws one assist. He draws the only assist at 7:02. A power play goal by the Pens. With Blight in the penalty box, of course, he returns to the ice at teams that equal in full strength. Here's a chance for Malone, and his backhander right through the crease. Comes all the way around on the right side now to Graves. And to Monahan, who shoots the puck in the corner. Wilson knocks it away from Monahan. Comes out to the point. Robitaille. Bobby Lalonde winds up his drive, whistles wide. Back to Robitaille again, into the corner. Right out in front of Lalonde, and it's blocked by Ochar. It went down to one knee. Now Denny Ochar. Shoots it out in front of his own goal to Bianchin, out to center ice and past Malone. 1-0 Pittsburgh. 7:02, the time of LaRouche's power play goal. Out to center ice. Ori breaks the play up. Now it comes back to the number 24, Gary Monahan. Shoots the puck into the Pittsburgh end. Wilson holds it there for Ori. Don Ori, who's played some great defense, and as you probably know, Davey Burrows, not in uniform tonight. He's back in Pittsburgh out with sprained knee ligaments, expected to miss at least a week of action. And so Russ Anderson, number 7, has been called up from Hershey to replace him. And the Canucks having some difficulty getting organized. And the partisans here getting on their backs. Here's Malone. Try to get it out in front, and Schneps blocked it. And the Canucks break back with Monahan and Graves. Sideboards. Ori clears it in behind his own goal to Denny Ochar. And he just shoots it out to center ice. Ochar got it back again as the Pens change on the fly. Ochar by himself. Ochar's drive, and Ridley's got it cradled. And a great effort by Dennis Ochar, who went down all alone, went around the defenseman, let his drive go, and Ridley made the save.
A great individual effort by Ochar, and had it not been a gain for the alertness of Kurt Ridley, the Canucks could be in trouble. You can see big Harold Schneps. Ochar just over the blue line, slips it through his legs. He's in alone. Daly fell. It didn't do any good, and Ridley catches it up in the high part of his left shoulder.
From the draw, LaRouche to Keogh, and he shot it just wide of the near post. Anderson to Corrigan. Penguins absolutely having target practice here in the opening portion of this period. In behind the goal, it's Kehoe. Knocked down by Daly. Back out to Stackhouse. His long drive blocked in front. And it's loose and finally cleared ahead. Here's O'Flaherty moving down. Drive by Jim Wiley, the ex-Penguin. And Schneps couldn't keep it in at the blue line. Daly tips it right back in the Penguin zone, but offside was Jim Wiley, number 12. How's he performing, the ex-Pen Jim Wiley?
Well, you know, I'm glad you asked, because he hadn't had one shift for about 12 consecutive games with Phil Maloney behind the bench, and then when Kurtenbach came on the scene, last year, Kurtenbach coaching in Tulsa, he had Wiley, and Wiley won the scoring championship. So now he's getting a regular shift, and he's starting to score.
I don't think Jim Wiley has ever been known for his skating prowess, but I think people think he's a smart hockey player and handles the puck well.
That's the book on him, without question. He does have trouble skating, and he's a big kid, too, and that doesn't help. He's a little bit cumbersome, but last year in Tulsa, winning that title, you know, he is a smart hockey player, and we're hoping the skating will come.
From the face-off, Carrier shoots the puck in behind the Pittsburgh goal, played by Russ Anderson, the rookie out of the University of Minnesota, to Kehoe. Oh, dangerous pass, intercepted by O'Flaherty and broken up by LaRouche. Now at the sideboards, Kehoe has it. And he tried to shoot it left wing to Corrigan. Mike slaps it the rest of the way in behind the Vancouver goal. Ridley holds it for Dennis Kearns. Now Kearns coming out of his own end. Kearns got it ahead to center ice. This is Brad Gassoff, number 16. The rookie who was just called up today from Tulsa, and the brother of Bob Gassoff, the toughie from the St. Louis Blues. When I asked you about him earlier today, Greg, you said he doesn't quite have the toughness of Gassoff. You wish he did, though, I bet, huh?
It's something we're waiting for.
Keogh takes a rip from Gassoff in the corner. Well, he demonstrated a little physical ability there. Here's Corrigan just tipping the puck off the boards out to center ice. Tried to hit LaRouche on the fly. Broken up by the Canucks, and now Dennis Kearns has to go back into his own end. 1-0 Pittsburgh. We've played 10 minutes, 30 seconds of the first period. Here's a chance for the Canucks. Right out in front, and the pass just got by Ververgaard. Schneps kept it in. Ververgaard, number 10, spinning inside the blue line. Got it out in front. 4 Canucks inside the blue line. Now Keogh, and this line having a little problem. Ochar gave it right to Ververgaard. Now around the near side, in behind the goal. Daly passing right through the goal crease. And it goes in behind the goal again. And now Wiley and Ochar jam after it. Wiley comes up with it. Schock can't get his stick on it, and finally it's tipped ahead, and here's a 2-on-1. Schock with Kehoe trailing and Gilbertson. Here's Schock out in front. Oh, score! Schock got it out in front, I believe, to Kehoe, and the Penguins lead it 2-0. Great 3-on-1 break as the Canucks were all trapped in the Penguin end.
You'll see on this goal, folks, that again the combination of Bob Daly and Harold Schneps are caught in a rather embarrassing position. It was actually, it opened up as a 2-on-1 break and wound up a 3-on-2. Kurt Ridley went down, but not soon enough. Puck it under his pads, and it's 2-0 Pittsburgh. Under his pads, and it's 2-0 Pittsburgh.
Well, we'll wait for the official scoring play, but the Pens, just as they wanted to do in talking about this hockey game at the hotel and coming over on the bus tonight, have jumped into a 2-0 lead. Kehoe's goal. And, of course, the great pass from Ronnie Schock. Time 11:18. And for Rick Kehoe, that will be goal number 20 on the year. In the far corner, a 4-man jam, and they whistle the play dead. Spruce and Ochar do a little pushing, and the Battleship gets in there to make sure that cooler heads prevail. Once again, the scoring play, Kehoe's 20th of the year, from Ronnie Schock at 11:18, and you're down 2-0, Greg Douglas.
On the screen right there is Dennis Verbergaard, who last year, Sam, represented Vancouver in the All-Star game, and he picked up 2 goals. He's a right winger by trade. That particular night he was playing the left side.
And I think they were the 2 fastest goals in All-Star history, weren't they?
Yes, they were. They beat the record by 3 seconds. Held by Wally Hergesheimer, as a matter of fact.
There's a name out of the past. And again, Greg Douglas, the assistant general manager of the Vancouver Canucks, kind enough to do our color commentary tonight in the absence of Jack Riley, who has other obligations. Here's a chance for Apps. Odlisson riding him along the boards, now in behind the goal. Carrier having trouble with the puck. Pronovo gets in there. They try to double team him. Apps has it. To Prony on his backhand. Gives it back to Sil Apps. Near side point. Here's a chance for Faubert. His drive looking for a deflection. And he got one all right from Odlisson and put it right on the goal.
You can see the problem that Orland Kurtenbach is faced with, Sam. It's just one of those things. The Canucks right now have 189 goals scored against them. That's the absolute worst in the league. Defensively, they've been in trouble right from day one, and day one for Vancouver was also day one for Pittsburgh. A 9-7 Pittsburgh win back on October the 6th, if you'll recall. And by the way the Penguins have come out of their igloos here tonight, it wouldn't surprise me to see 9 more put by Kurt Ridley, who played in that game on October the 6th.
That was also the day that Dennis Herron suffered a broken arm, as I remember, and at that time we thought it was one heck of a price to pay for victory, I'll tell you that. But he, of course, has since recovered to play some spectacular hockey for the Pens, and with Dunk Wilson, the Pens is pleased with their goal tandem as they've ever been, I think, in the 10 years that the club has been in the league. Back to the action. 7:35 to go first period. Pittsburgh 2, the Canucks nothing. Robitaille takes a check from Kelly. Battleship got it out in front to Stackhouse. His drive, and it's just wide. At the side of the goal, they jam. Kelly gets into it. Puck is still loose. Here's Pronovo. And Ridley finally sprawls on a loose puck. Stackhouse and Spruce do a little pushing as Stacky knocked Andy Spruce down to the ice, and the linesman Swede Knox and Ray Scampanello get in between them and settle that one in a hurry.
You mentioned earlier that Dave Burrows is back in Pittsburgh watching this telecast. The Vancouver Canucks have Mike Walton out of the lineup. He's out 8 to 10 weeks with torn ligaments in his left knee.
He has been a fairly potent scoring machine, hasn't he, for you, Greg?
Well, he played 10 games for Vancouver at the conclusion of last year, and in those 10 games he got 8 goals and 8 assists. So in the offseason he signed a 3-year contract with Vancouver, and he was off to a slow start scoring-wise, but was right up at the top because of the assists and playmaking, which Vancouver misses.
Greg Malone out there with Blair Chapman and Wayne Bianchin. The kids reunited. Here's a drive by Ori, and I think it hit Bianchin. It comes to Blight, who sends it out to center ice. Bianchin tipped away by Malone into the Vancouver zone. Now Malone sends it around too far for Chapman at the far side. It comes to Settlebauer. And through the legs of Donnie Lever. Now Lever scurries after the puck at center ice, shoots it into the far corner. Settlebauer has it there. Avoids a check from Ochar, who's been whacking him good, I can tell you. He leveled Rick Martin the other night, the great star of the Buffalo Sabres, 3 times in one shift. 3 of the stiffest body checks I think I've ever seen. At center ice, Chapman takes it right away from Lever. Here they come again. The kids in over the blue line. Pass right at the goal mouth, too far for Bianchin, as Blight had him fairly well corralled. Now here's Lever back at center ice. 2-0 Penguins lead it. Goes by LaRouche and Kehoe. Looking for a road victory. They go to Los Angeles tomorrow night, and this is a fairly important road trip, although it's a short one. A short one in number of games, certainly a long one in distance, I can tell you that. Seems like forever getting out here. Here's Bob Daly, the big defenseman. Got it ahead to Lever. Too far for Settlebauer. Out in front, Ori tipped it back to the point. And a fight breaking out. Settlebauer and I believe Blair Chapman in the far corner. There you see it, Settlebauer and Chapman. And I really don't know how it got started. They're still wailing away at each other. And I think Settlebauer, his mission is obvious, to get the Canucks aroused. They finally tumble to the ice with Settlebauer on top. And the linesmen, Scapinello and Swede Knox, trying to get him apart. And maybe when we look at it again, we'll see how and why it all started, Greg Douglas.
I think the whole thing started inside the Canucks blue line. They rubbed each other just at the Canuck blue line. Then the play was coming back into Pittsburgh zone, and Chapman hit Settlebauer at the blue line. You'll see it coming up right there. Now they go into the boards together. Settlebauer almost got knocked off balance. He keeps his balance. Watch Chapman now. He's not finished with Settlebauer yet. There's the crunch. Now Chapman loses his stick, or is that Settlebauer's stick, and away they go. I think it originated, though, back up the ice in the Vancouver end.
Well, you could see the way the gloves came flying off Blair Chapman. There was no question. They had discussed this previously. Like the next time we got a chance, let's go. And they both go off, obviously, and I would assume that 5-minute major penalties will be the call by referee Dave Newell, but let's wait and see. Blair Chapman of the Pens. And if memory serves me correctly, I think that's his first major in the National Hockey League. I don't know about Settlebauer. Does he go very often?
Yeah, he's been involved in a few scraps along the way. As a matter of fact, Kurtenbach wishes there were more. There's a final score, Sam. Washington 4 and Buffalo 2, and that game was played right in Buffalo. It's a big win for Washington, who are making a desperate run for that last playoff spot.
Pittsburgh penalty number 9, Blair Chapman. Vancouver penalty on Settlebauer, 2 minutes each for high sticking, 5 minutes each for fighting.
Well, as you may have heard, they both get 2-minute minors for high sticking and 5-minute majors for fighting, so they will both be out of action for the next 7 minutes, although they can be replaced on the ice after their minor penalties have expired. Once again, if you joined us late, Pierre LaRouche, a power play goal at 7:02 of the period, his 17th of the season, which ain't bad when you consider the fact that he has sat out a number of hockey games this year for one reason or another, because of the personal problems and what else. He has played in just 32 games. We're back live again. Second goal was scored by Keogh, his 20th. Oh, and Anderson puts Gas off to the ice with a stiff check. They're still entangled at center ice. They may go, you can't tell. In behind the goal, finally taken away. Now here's a chance for the Penguins. Corrigan coming down with Kehoe. Here's Corrigan to Ricky Kehoe. Backhander right out in front. And Faubert's drive, and I think Ridley might have got a piece of that, or it hit the side of the goal. Faubert knocked down as he tried to get back to his defensive position. Chasing after a loose puck, Faubert, and Gassoff runs him into the glass, and thus the crowd reaction. Here's Bob Daly trying to get a shot away, and the Pens come away with it. Here's LaRouche coming down on Ridley. Pierre's drive, and it just whistled off the stick of Ridley into the crowd. And I think I mentioned that both teams would start, Greg, a man short, but that is not the case at all. They're both playing at equal and full strength at the moment.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised that Newell tagged on the extra 2 minutes for the high sticking, because I didn't think it was high sticking in the corner, but that's the way Newell saw it, and Newell's running the show tonight.
Bobby Lalonde and Ronnie Schock will go after the draw here to the right of goaltender Kurt Ridley, who's made a bundle of saves here in the first period. We're under 4 or 5 minutes to go, I should say, in the period. Monahan off the stick of Bobby Lalonde. Lou Morrison back to get it. Morrison in behind his own goal. Loose puck tipped ahead to Stan Gilbertson. Now coming down the left side. Whacked from behind there by Hilliard Graves. Ridley clears it to the open wing. Monahan comes after it with Bobby Lalonde. Now they hit Graves at center. Over the Penguin blue line, broken up there and trying to get it out. The Penguins, I guess they did, because it's whistled offside by Ray Scapinello as it was brought back in by defenseman Larry Carrier. He came from Buffalo. Graves came from Atlanta. I don't think Phil Maloney can be accused of having not tried to bring some new blood into this club.
He was telling Pierre LaRouche today, he said, if you think you're frustrated, how do you think I feel? Every time we read about you being unhappy, I pick up the telephone.
Here's Don Ori. LaRouche is the wrong man to tell about that, Greg. Here's Ori spinning around the cage. Got it out to Morrison on the right side. At center ice is Lalonde. Tipped right off his stick very neatly by Stackhouse. Tried to get it to Schock, broken up by Carrier, who couldn't get it out. Schock spinning out in front and just off the skate of Ridley. Gilbertson, Carrier go into the corner boards. Gilbertson, good outlet pass to Schock. Tried to get it back out in front again, and it's broken up. Now Gilbertson went to his knees to keep it in. And they jam along the near boards, and finally Hilliard Graves. Cross rink goes with the puck to Monahan. He's skated off, by Louis Morrison. And now Robitaille will start out to Bobby Lalonde. 3:30 to go in the period. 2-0 Pittsburgh. Goals by LaRouche and Kehoe. Now Stackhouse trying to catch the Canucks in a line change. Fires it into the Vancouver end. Kelly the first one in. Kelly has the puck in the corner. Kearns riding him along the boards. Comes free there to Wiley. Apps is all over him right out in front to Anderson. His quick drive. And Ridley either got a shoulder or a glove on it, and he knocked it into the crowd. So there's a break in the action. The score, Pittsburgh 2 and Vancouver 0. Games will be against Philadelphia a week from Saturday, 8 o'clock in the evening, and then the following Sunday afternoon at 2:30 matinee with the Boston Bruins. And I'll be doing my ticket shopping real soon. Anderson colliding with Gassoff. Puck free at the far boards. Anderson playing without a stick takes Bob Kelly's, who heads for the bench. Kelly wisely thinking that the defenseman here's Gassoff. He's in and he couldn't get his shot away. Gassoff could not get his shot away. The puck just dribbled off the end of his stick and Dunk flopped on it about 2 or 3 feet outside the goal crease.
Gassoff and Anderson have had 2 pretty heavy collisions right now, and knowing Gassoff and his instructions, this is the second time he's been up with the big club this year, and he knows that he has to be physical to stay.
Well, you got to give Kelly some credit for having a bit of moxie on that one. Bobby saw that Anderson had the stick knocked out of his hand and immediately gave it to his defenseman and then headed for the bench for a new stick himself, knowing that the defenseman needed it far more than he did. Here's Apps in over the blue line. He's got Kelly with him. Pass behind Kelly, and the Canucks turn away with him. Here's O'Flaherty in over the blue line. Fires the puck. Comes all the way back out to Schneps at the point. Out in front off a skate of Ori, and now Kelly tried to get Pronovo away on the right side. Prony breaks the play up, and finally an offside whistle down with 2:13 to go in the period as he and Wiley tie it up along the near side boards.
There's a good shot of Jerry O'Flaherty, who happens to be a native of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. He's the only American-born player on the team here in Vancouver. He was born while his dad, John Peanuts O'Flaherty, I think, was either playing or coaching in Pittsburgh, and Sam, that's going back a few years.
Well, that's a bit of trivia I was unaware of, Greg. I appreciate that. Maybe some of the folks back in Pittsburgh remember the O'Flahertys, although I'd say it's a common name. The hockey O'Flahertys. Here's a drive by Faubert, and Kehoe tried to deflect it en route to goal. And Ridley was Johnny on the spot to make the save. Ververgaert got it ahead. Here's Spruce, and offside by a good stride and a half on the right wing was Chris Odlifson, the captain. And the play whistled down with 1:51 to go in the first period. The Penguins lead the Vancouver Canucks 2-0. The teams have met twice previously this year. The Pens won in Pittsburgh 9-5. They also tied there 2-2, and this is their first trip west, and they'll be coming back again later in the season. They'll meet the Canucks a total of 4 times this year. Here's Ververgaert, back to Robitaille. Carrier dumping the puck into the Penguin zone, stopped by Wilson. Anderson off the boards, took a funny bounce out to center ice and gave LaRouche a neat break. LaRouche on the right side to Kehoe. Kehoe's drive caught by a Ridley, and he holds on for a face-off with 1:30 to go. And I think the shots on goal, Greg, may be rather indicative of this play in this game. I don't have any indication yet, but I would imagine the Pens have probably outshot Vancouver at least 2-1.
Well, the Pacific Coliseum is one of the few buildings in the NHL that does not run a running copy of the shots on goal. That's something that has to be done here in Vancouver, but Pittsburgh has had the play all over Vancouver. I owe the Pittsburgh goaltending fraternity an apology. I said earlier in the broadcast 9-7 on October the 6th, and you're absolutely correct, 9-5 for Pittsburgh, first game of the season.
That was the combination of Dennis Herron and Gordy Laxton. Here's a drive right on. Ridley, a save again. Gilbertson, and he scored! Gilbertson fanned on his first shot, and he got a second opportunity, and he put it into the near side, kept it low along the ice. And the Penguins have taken a 3-0 lead over Vancouver, and the Partisans are not happy.
A great second effort by Stan Gilbertson. You'll see here that it appears that Larry Carrier, number 5 in the white, has him tied up. A second effort. He gets the shot away. And if there's any young kids out there watching who play defense, Carrier should have had Gilbertson right down on the ice, not allowing him that second effort. I was going to mention earlier, Sam, that Gilbertson is playing like a youngster, and we saw him out in the coast years ago in the Western League.
Of ice time earlier in the year, but lately he has. Here's Ori in behind the goal. We'll give you the official scoring play when we get it. Certainly. Well, I blew that one. Malone and Ochar draw the assists.
You see some final scores there, Sam. St. Louis 5, Chicago 3 in the Conn Smythe division. An important game to Vancouver. We gave you the other scores earlier.
Ochar and Malone, last minute of play in the period, and you heard the unhappy Vancouver fans applaud that announcement. And it was indeed the final 60 seconds in period number 1. The Battleship tried to get it out to Apps. Broken up there, and the Canucks coming back with 40 seconds to play in the period. Now here's a chance with Pronovo. Crony moving down with Kelly. Tried to get it out in front, and Daly blocked it very neatly. Pronovo has a chance again. Daly knocks him off the puck. Rides him along the boards. Got it ahead on the near side to Rick Blight. And now Donnie Lever, number 9. In behind Blight over the blue line. Pulling up with 18 seconds to go. Here's the open man. Right out in front, Lever. Saved by Wilson. Lever had a chance at the rebound. And Kelly skates it out to the blue line where Pronovo has it. 8 seconds to play. Kearns and Kelly racing after it. The Battleship tried to one-hand the puck out in front. The buzzer will sound. And simultaneous with a whistle, and the period has come to an end. And if you're a Pittsburgh Penguin fan, it was a great period. That's the end of the first. And the score, Pittsburgh 3, Vancouver nothing.
Indicative game there that he'd have tested Dunk Wilson. Wilson has been tested in the second period, Sam, much more so than that first.
Penguins, as I mentioned, will move on to Los Angeles for a big game with their division foe, the LA Kings, tomorrow night, then back to the Civic Arena Saturday against the Van & Company, 8 o'clock start time. Then a week from Saturday, the Philly Flyers, whom, as you may recall, we beat 1-0 at the arena on their last visit, and what a great opportunity to duplicate that feat. And then Sunday afternoon, a week from Sunday, a matinee with the Boston Bruins. Ben's trying to get back above 500 again. And they are well on their way to doing it. 13:30 to go here in the second period. And they lead the Canucks 3-0. Morrison intercepts, tried to get it out in front to Schock, and Odlifson got it back again. Now Ververgaard cleared it out to center ice. Robitaille at center. Good pass to Ververgaard. They're in 2-on-2. His drive into the crowd off the stick of Ron Stackhouse. And so even when the Canucks make some fairly decent plays, if not thwarted by Wilson at the goal crease, the Penguin defense getting a stick in the way of the shot, and this has not been Vancouver's night thus far.
Samuel, we got to keep our eye on that monitor. They're showing some of Vancouver's finest of the female corps, and unfortunately you were writing at that last look in the crowd.
I'll come back to you. Just tap me when you see a pretty one. Here's Odlifson with a drive, almost hit his teammate behind the goal. That would have been Andy Spruce. Comes all the way back to the blue line. Schock breaking down with Robitaille, hanging on his back. He's pulled down, no penalty. Yes, there is a delayed call. Schock in control behind the goal, and finally Ververgaard will touch it. And the penalty upcoming to the Vancouver Canucks. Well, Schock got pulled down as he tried to speed to the Vancouver goal and move down on Ridley. So there's a break in the action. The score, Pittsburgh 3, Vancouver nothing. Well, there you see the penalized player, Mike Robitaille, 2 minutes for hooking at 7:13 of the second period. So the Penguins with their second power play of the night. Here's why.
It was almost a second effort on Robitaille's part. Referee Dave Newell was going to let the first go, and then he insisted, and down went Schock, and off goes Robitaille.
And we're back live. The Penguin power play as Daly cleared it, but not out. Faubert kept it into the Battleship. He and Daly collide. Bob Kelly goes down. Faubert has it inside the blue line to Kelly. Kelly moving down. Kelly still in control, try to get it to Pronovo. Back to Stackhouse, Faubert. Faubert's drive deflected by Kelly. Lever came up with it. Kelly got it back, tipped away from him again. They're playing giveaway in front. Pronovo holds it near side boards. 1:30 to go. Faubert. Good penalty killing by the Canucks. They're moving around. Lever and Otlifson up front. Here's a drive. Rebound. As Ridley made a good save on it, dropping to his knees. And it's cleared down the ice, and Stackhouse will play it in behind his own goal. Penguins lead it 3-0. They have one power play goal. The only opportunity they've had before this. LaRouche got us started. Stackhouse at center. Far boards. Kelly the first one in. In behind the goal. Overskated the puck. Played there by Graves. Tapped right out in front, and Stackhouse couldn't keep it in. He'll have to skate back into his own zone. Lever comes off, replaced by Monahan. Corrigan comes on with Keogh and LaRouche. Rebound. Corrigan's drive, and it's wide. Came right out to him. Here's Stackhouse. Shoots it back into the corner again. Here's Keogh, number 8. Ricky's got his 20th already tonight. Having a great year. Still stick handling. Gets it to LaRouche. Moving to the side of the goal, and it was blocked by Ridley. Back out, tried to get it to Corrigan, and Schnepp's intercepted. Now Schnepp's trying to get it to Monahan. He does so, and down the ice goes the puck with 18 seconds to go in the Penguin power play. Timing up for one more rush. 11 seconds. That's if they move with it. Faubert wasting some time back there. Now LaRouche with 6 seconds to go in the power play. 10:50 to go in the second period. To Keogh. Robitaille is back on the ice. Here's Keogh on his off wing. Corrigan. Shot it right on. Rebound. LaRouche, a backhander blocked by Schnepp's in front. And Harold Schnepp's goes 6'3", about 220 pounds. And he's a lot of hulk out there in front of a goaltender. Here's Robitaille breaking back, and he's offside. Ochar blindsided him, and Robitaille is down. Ochar absolutely ripped into Robitaille as he was looking down for the puck.
There's the play right there, Sam. You'll notice he loses it in his skates, and while he's looking down, there's Dennis. He puts the left shoulder into him, and trainer Pat Dunn is out looking over Robitaille right now, who has been injury-riddled during his brief career in Vancouver since joining the Canucks from Buffalo. He seems to be all right. You can see his head bobbing there. He's had a lot of problems this year, young Robitaille. Could play 3 or 4 games, and there's always minor ailments. It's nothing very serious at times, but he's been in and out of the lineup.
Well, they are still administering to Mike Robitaille, who is laying face down on the ice. He is moving his limb, at least one of them, his leg, and here it is again, Greg.
Robitaille had just recently gotten out of that penalty box. Ouch, you can almost feel that up here. That's quite a hit by Ochar, and I think that there they are. They're getting him up now.
Oh, he's got to be woozy. I'm sure they've waved the smelling salts in front of his nose a few times, and he is having great difficulty getting up. You see Schnepp's getting his head under one arm, and at the other side is Larry Carrier, and they're going to have to help him off. He is absolutely still woozy.
Look at those knees, Sam. They're wobbling. He looks like he's gone 15 rounds with Muhammad Ali.
That is, I just hope it's nothing serious, because he was blindsided, and as you described, Greg, so perfectly, he was looking down for the puck. He's dragging a leg behind him, too. He's getting a nice round of applause. Otlifson pulling in front, and they are just moving him ever so gently over to the runway leading to the Vancouver dressing room, and they'll get him off the ice. But Robitaille took a lick that he will not soon forget.
It was one of those high hits, too. It was a clean hit. I can't believe that they didn't call for a stretcher. I don't understand it. If a guy is that wobbly on his feet, you'd think they'd give him the courtesy of at least giving him a lift into that medical room area.
He doesn't have to play hero tonight, that's for sure.
Sam, you can almost see this game falling into a pattern. I think Pittsburgh is playing with a great amount of confidence, and the Vancouver defensively are scrambling. They're panicking. They're having trouble winning at home. They've won 5 games at home, and this crowd is a very critical crowd in Western Canada. They've been watching National Hockey League mostly on television and via radio before the days of TV out of Montreal and Toronto, and they consider themselves a very educated audience, and it's a tough audience to play in front of.
Well, there is the stretcher, Robitaille, now being wheeled, I would suspect, to an ambulance and to a hospital, unless there's one right here in the Coliseum that you know of, Greg.
It's a club, it's a mini hospital type thing. That door you see there leads into the Canuck medical room.
Well, the observations that you heard came from Greg Douglas, who just happens to be the assistant general manager of this Vancouver hockey club. And that is blatant honesty, I can tell you that. At the near side boards, Monahan can't get it out. We are back to the action. Here's Graves tipped off his stick by Ori. We have reached the midway point of the hockey game. 10 minutes to go, second period. The Penguins lead at 3-0, an icing call against Vancouver. And the puck will go all the way back to the right of goaltender Kurt Ridley. The Canucks, as Greg was mentioning, have the worst home record in the National Hockey League. They have won just 5 games. I think you've lost something like 14 and tied 3 or 4, something like that, Greg. You would know the figures better than I.
That's exactly right, Sam. You hit it right on with the 3 ties. And at this point in the season, things are getting serious, and you're going to have a very interesting guest at the end of this period, Phil Maloney, who rarely makes a television appearance, I might add.
Oh, Bayanchin's drive is right on. Chapman kicking at the puck from the faceoff. And the kids hustling, and as Greg so aptly described, I don't think I've seen the Penguins play on the road with quite as much confidence as they have tonight. Although 3 goals will do a lot for your confidence, I can assure you. And the Pens desperately needed something here tonight, going into the Forum in Los Angeles tomorrow night in a critical division game against the Kings, who can be tough. Bobby Lalonde against Greg Malone, just at the blue line. Penguin goal scorers LaRouche, Kehoe, and Gilbertson if you joined us late. And that's all she wrote in the first period. The Penguins have been coasting ever since. Now, whether it's enough to stand up remains to be seen. At this moment, one would think so. The Canucks have done nothing to change our mind. Graves tried to get it on the near side. It came back out off the stick. Played by Carrier. He and Malone do some pushing. Now Carrier and Malone do some high sticking, and there they swing. Carrier and Malone at center ice. And they are wailing away now, down with Carrier on top of Malone. And the linesman trying to pry them apart. Well, that's our second fight of the night. Earlier it was Settlebauer and Chapman. And I would have to give the edge to Settlebauer in that one, as you probably would have to give the edge to Carrier in this one, but certainly nobody got hurt, just a couple of blows. Finally, they are pried apart. There's a break in the action. The Penguins continue to lead the Canucks 3-0. Well, here it is. Well, you almost saw them. We just had a brief look at it. They came along the near boards and did a little shoving. And I think a couple of firsts tonight, Greg. I don't remember Chapman having been in a fight, and now I don't remember Malone having been in one.
I think Malone...
4 minutes for fighting.
Malone is obviously smiling because Carrier was the aggressor in that exchange. 10:44 the time of the penalty. 4 minutes to Larry Carrier and 2 to Malone. And Sam, that was the reason for the Cheshire Cat grin on Malone at that penalty box area.
Well, while we were away, Greg Douglas was remarking to me that he thought that Carrier had been the instigator of that, and it certainly turns out to be the case, doesn't it? Carrier gets 4 minutes for fighting. Malone just gets 2 minutes. At 10:40. Bodies, Anderson pulls Schneps to the ice and goes on top of him. And everybody's dropped their gloves, squaring off everybody but LaRouche, who looks like an orphan standing there, doesn't he?
You know, Anderson was back at that left point, and LaRouche had the puck back there, and LaRouche told him, get in deep. So that's how Anderson wound up in front of the Canuck net. You know, the more we see of this young Russ Anderson, the more he impresses you. It's going to be tough for Kenny Schinkel to send him back down. I think he wants to stay here, Sam.
Well, he was up and played reasonably well, I think, during the early part of the season. And then for some reason, Kenny Schinkel decided to go to his veteran defenseman. Anderson saw very little ice time, went down to Hershey, and has come back now out of necessity because of the injury to Davy Burrows. But you're right, he's a tough kid. He, like Jim Wiley, doesn't skate particularly well. He labors a bit. But he's a tough kid, and he's not afraid to hand out the checks. We'll have to wait and see. Last minute of play in the game. You heard the cheers by the Vancouver partisans. They can't wait for it to be over. I doubt if they feel they got their $9 or $10 worth tonight. At center ice, it's Faubert. 30 seconds to play. And the Pens very content now just to rag out the remaining seconds, hold on to the puck, dump it in, do anything they can. Boy, Daly in what appeared to be a shot of frustration, boomed that one into the crowd. Dunk Wilson 21 seconds away from a well-deserved shutout tonight, and Ridley, although he gave up 3 goals, certainly earned the number 3 star, or else this game could have been long out of reach earlier. As it turned out, the Canucks really never came back after falling behind 3-0 in the first period. They have never mounted, and it's been the Penguins hockey game almost since its inception, when they were all 3 or 4 opportunities until LaRouche finally got one by Ridley. LaRouche tried to fire it right from the draw from the stick of Stack to Kehoe on the right side. 10 seconds to play in the game. And plenty good. He still owns Pens his summer in this magnificent country. And he's got a lot of fun tonight. And Dunker being embraced by his teammates here, coming in the city that they'll be heading off in a bus, then fly to L.A. tomorrow morning and engage for 3 in just a moment. First up.